welcome to this week's edition of the Pete Mezzetti Show. My guest this evening is the Captain, Tom Ferrara, local musician. Captain Tom, how are you, sir?
Good.
How are you, buddy?
Glad to be here.
Thanks for coming down. Thanks for coming down. So tell us, who exactly is the Captain, Tom Ferrara? Well, in a nutshell.
In a nutshell, okay. I'll give you the short answer. Well,
All right.
A local musician, as you said.
Yes.
But actually, I just kind of do that part for fun.
All right.
You know, I have a full-time kind of like real job.
A real gig,
that pays the bills, if you will.
Exactly.
So I do the music for fun.
Nice.
And you know, I support some local charities when asked. Certainly play to contribute and in whatever way, give back a little bit.
Nice, sir. How long have you been playing for?
Well, I guess most recently, I've been playing out publicly for about 5 years now.
Okay.
I played a little bit in kind of grade school, some in high school, and through college, and then I didn't play for a very long time.
All right.
I guess, boy, it's got to be 9 years ago now. I picked it up very sporadically again.
Okay.
And then how I got back into playing regularly is the start of it is very sad in that a very good friend of mine passed away at a young age, and his wife wanted to have a party for him.
All right.
And she said, "Tom, you've got to come and play at the party." And I said, "Geez, you know, I really haven't played very much in a very long time."
Right.
Well, Mike would want you to play. Okay.
All right.
All right. So I'm like, okay, I've got about 2 weeks to try and remember some songs and put it back together. And so I did. And my fingers were very sore after about 10 minutes. But I played because, again, he was a very good friend. I mean, his daughter is my goddaughter.
All right.
We were fraternity brothers together. So very, very, very good friend. And so I went to the party and I played and I, you know, did as much as I could remember.
Yeah.
And then I started picking it up more and more after that. And you know, a few years later, kind of fast forward a little bit, a friend of mine was having a party on the beach and party and whatever. And I said, "Geez, would you mind if I bring my guitar?" Because I mean, you know, who doesn't love a campfire and a guitar? And
exactly.
I certainly like sitting around a campfire and playing guitar. And so, of course, you get the, well, all right.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
And then from there, it really just kind of took off. I started doing that a little bit more and practicing more. And then finally, some friends of mine said, "You know, you really need to be doing this out." I'm like, "Seriously?"
Yeah.
And they were like, "Yeah, seriously." So I went out and bought a guitar that you could, acoustic electric.
Yeah.
Because I play acoustic guitar and sing, solo performer kind of a thing. I guess a little bit more background information.
All right, sure.
And you know, bought a PA system and started to go to open mics and stuff like that. And you know, the rest is kind of history. I'm going to be up here today.
Right, exactly. Exactly. Like you said, you support local charities and play. What are some of the local charities that you support?
Well, geez, pretty much anybody that asks me. There's been a few fundraisers for people, really kind of like ad hoc. Somebody, I'm trying to think. Well, one for sure is I've played some shows for literacy volunteers of Valley Shore.
I wonder
played
why.
Their annual fundraiser for what, the past 3 or 4 years.
Past 3 or 4, right?
I believe. I did a couple of wine tasting events for the estuary in Old Saybrook, and have done some other, again, just some friends, some local people that I know. We're trying to raise money for you know, a child who has cancer or a brother who is going through a particularly hard time, and so yeah, I'll certainly play, and you know, because it's great to have people milling about and have music in the background.
Exactly.
And I guess it adds to the ambiance, and happy to give back a little bit.
Exactly, and like you said, you've played the literacy wine tasting, and you do a great job because I've been.
Thank you.
My viewers and listeners that don't know, I'm actually on that board of directors, and so usually you and I see each other about once a year, usually in October at that event.
Right. Exactly.
So let's talk about musical inspirations. Who are some of your favorites?
I think like most people in my generation, the Beatles are certainly a big one.
All right.
But also as I got around to listening more and playing more, there were people like Jim Croce and Cat Stevens and James Taylor were very big inspirations for me. Also listened to a lot of Jethro Tull and Led Zeppelin.
All right.
And so I guess that's kind of where the rock side of things comes in. Most people, somebody said something very nice one time, says, I came to see you because you're like my friend, but you're really a lot better than I expected, because it's not the same old kind of acoustic guitarist.
No.
You think of the guy in Animal House who was sitting on the steps, I gave my love a cherry sort of a thing,
right.
And John Belushi just smashes the guitar. I guess that's what she was expecting, and that's not at all, as you know, what I am.
No, definitely not. There's no, I was going to say, when people come to see you play and perform, what can they expect?
Well, the unexpected, quite an eclectic mix, actually, and I get a lot of comments on that. So, and when I say that, I mean everything from the Kingston Trio to the Beatles and Tom Petty and Dave Matthews to, I even do Imagine Dragons, and kind of everything in between.
Right.
I don't kind of focus on one particular band or group or artist, although I probably know more Beatles and Cat Stevens than anyone else, but maybe 1 to 3 songs is pretty typical of most artists. I do Allman Brothers, I do an Eagle-Eye Cherry song, just kind of a mix of what I like and what kind of captures my imagination at any given moment. And people seem to like that. It seems to resonate with both old and young people alike, actually. Exactly. When I say old, I just mean people over 30.
Right. Like you and I and most of my audience.
Yeah, exactly.
Right, yeah. Now let's talk about, I guess, how do you select what songs you play? You just pick them out of a hat?
No, not quite. A lot of it's really random.
Okay.
There were certainly a lot of songs that that just from high school and college that I liked, and I played when I was playing in high school and college. So I just kind of relearned some of those.
Okay.
And now it's a lot of times really there's other musicians that play a song that's like, yeah, I can do that.
Yeah,
or,
right.
Yeah, that would sound good. Sometimes it's just a song that I hear not so much on the radio. I tend to listen to more internet radio.
Right.
Sirius for a long time, kind of Pandora.
Oh, yeah.
And so if I happen to hear something come up on there that, again, just kind of captures my imagination or has a particular kind of what's the word I'm looking for? It resonates with me in terms of something that's going on with me at that moment.
Exactly.
I just happen to catch a lyric and it reminds me of, yeah, geez, I wish I had asked that person out,
Exactly.
And there's a song, that comes along that says, geez, I wish I had worked that person out. Just, boy, it just clicks right in.
And then there it goes.
Yeah.
There it goes.
So it's really random, is what that comes down to at the end of the day.
Right. Now, as far as, obviously you see yourself playing down the road because you love what you do, right?
Right, sure, absolutely.
All right.
Yeah.
And I guess as far as, what do you like to listen to these days?
Well, again, mostly internet radio.
All right.
While I'm working, I'm listening to kind of new age acoustic stuff, just to kind of keep things mellow and help keep me calm during the day to day. But I've got a couple of stations like programmed over Jimmy Thing from Dave Matthews Band. I also have a Tom Petty station that I listen to.
There you go.
And I have a station I started that, not like a radio station or anything like that,
Right.
but a list, I guess,
Yeah.
from I'd Love to Change the World by 10 Years After. And that just has the greatest mix of music on there. again, kind of random. And so I guess that's where the randomness of my song selection comes up, is because it'll play a lot of things in a particular genre.
Right.
And so as a song comes up, again, that's when I'll, maybe start listening to it and, decide that that's something I want to learn. I also do get some requests from time to time.
I was going to say, that was actually
like,
my other
geez,
question.
why don't you play this? Or, geez,
Yeah.
you'd be really good at that sort of a thing.
Now, do you have a favorite request you like to play?
Not a favorite request. I don't get a lot of requests for songs necessarily that I know.
Okay.
Although I do have a good friend of mine who I broke out a Jim Croce song one night at a bonfire over her house.
Yeah.
And she just absolutely cracked up. It's Roller Derby Queen by Jim Croce. Mm-hmm. And they have a line in there about how she was built like a refrigerator with a head, and she just cracks up every time she hears it. So she's a good friend of mine. So every once in a while, she'll ask me to play that.
And just to let you know, you do an awesome job when if people haven't seen you, I'm going to encourage my viewers and my listeners to go out and see it, see where you're playing, because you do a great job. You're very entertaining as far as a musician. And you do an awesome job. It's just, I just wanted to
Thank you.
throw that in, because I've seen you a couple of times. And
Right.
Every time you and I see each other, it's not the same song after song after song. Your playlist grows.
Right, and that's one of the things that people like too, is that
Right.
while I am certainly playing kind of my favorites, if you will,
Right.
that I do mix in new things or things that I haven't played in a while, because it keeps it interesting for people who come back to see me on a regular basis.
Exactly. You don't want to hear the same song.
Right, and I don't want to be bored.
No, God no.
That's really what it comes down
God
to.
no. Actually, we're about to go into a break. Would you mind sticking around for another segment?
Sure, why not?
We'll be right back.
Start a story. Adopt at theshelterpetproject.org.
They said I have troll teeth.
That my voice sounded like a possessed baby doll.
That no one would ever love someone as stupid as me.
That I was fat, ugly.
Disgusting.
The effect of bullying is potent.
We will no longer be the silent majority.
Now, when you see online bullying, there's something you can do about it.
We're gonna take action with the I.
I am a witness.
I am a witness.
I am a witness.
I am a witness.
I am a witness, and so are you.
And welcome back to this week's edition of the Pete Mezzetti Show, sitting here with Captain Tom Ferrara. Captain Tom, welcome back.
Thank you.
Thank you. So I was wondering, during the first segment, we talked a little bit about music and all that other fun stuff. Let's talk about, obviously, to do what you're doing, you've got to take lessons. You just don't wake up one morning and start singing.
Well,
you could.
Yeah, actually, I did.
All right.
I've been blessed with a very good voice, and so I've kind of been singing all of my life, but not necessarily in front of people,
Right.
And not necessarily out for pay or with a guitar,
Right.
And I actually did teach myself back in high school. All right, I did take lessons in grade school, and for, I don't know, like a couple of months, and they wanted me to learn things like Little Brown Jug, like one note at a time. And I really wanted to play the Beatles and
Right.
folks like that, so it really didn't last very long because it just didn't hold my interest.
Right.
And then I picked it up in high school, and I really kind of taught myself, and kind of played that way through college. Some books I would get and look at the chords and kind of go from there and maybe innovate a little bit. But as I look back on it, I really didn't put kind of the effort into that I do now. Mm-hmm. In terms of wanting to be better, wanting to perform better. I always looked at it and would listen to the artist, whoever it was, whether it was a Jim Croce or the guy that accompanied him, or James Taylor, and I would just say, geez, that really sounds good. I don't think I could do that. Was kind of how I approached it.
Right.
And now I approach it a lot differently. I read a book called Zen Guitar.
Okay.
And it was written by a guy who didn't play guitar at all. But
Really?
what he advocated was, the phrase that comes to mind is, the beginner's mind is the mind of wisdom. He said, pick up the guitar, tune it, and play. And perhaps the most important thing that book taught me, besides that, or one of the other important things I should say, is to play through your mistakes.
Okay.
All right, because you're playing live, your fingers get tired, something catches as you're singing, you happen to run out of wind because you didn't breathe at the wrong time, at the right time as you're going through. It's live, stuff happens.
Of course it is.
And so, at that point, before I read the book, when I made a mistake, I would stop, I'd go back over it to kind of get to where, maybe practice to where it would be good, right? And I get through that part. And while that certainly is important, I think that you work on a part and get through it. When you're performing live, you can't stop and say, oh, I'm going to stop in the middle of this song and I'm going to start over again. Or let me just work on that part until and then I'll get through the song.
Let me work it out until I get it right.
Yeah, right. So you just have to keep going. And what everyone tells me is, of course, I notice that I made the mistake, or I skipped that, or I sang the third verse second and the second verse third, or whatever. Most people don't really notice.
No, of course not.
And I'll, especially if there's a couple of close friends there, I might say, geez, sorry, I got that. And they were like, what?
Yeah, exactly. Huh?
So that really kind of validates that you just keep playing through it. And that was a really big step for me. And so then actually a couple of years ago, so like I say, I started playing out again about 5 years ago.
Okay.
And a couple of years ago, I decided that, I want to be even better.
Right.
Now, I had made progress, and I was improving in my playing, and my singing was coming along, getting better.
All right.
And when I played, everyone would compliment me on my singing, but I wanted people to compliment me on my guitar.
Exactly.
And so this gentleman that I had met at open mic nights, and had seen his band. He's in a couple of bands, and I've gone out to see him on any number of occasions.
All right.
Fabulous guitarist, and he actually teaches lessons through a music store in Ansonia.
Okay.
And so I signed up to take lessons with him.
Oh, nice.
And so I've been doing that for just about 2 years now.
Nice. How'd they going?
It's going well. I joke about it all the time, how he, continues to try and teach me how to play the guitar.
Exactly.
But I think, my technique and my smoothness, and some of the things, the exploration of the neck, as opposed to playing down on the lower frets, I'm using more of the neck. I mean, an acoustic guitar, at least what he's teaching me.
Yep.
Although I do sometimes, wander up towards the 12th fret. The sweet spot in acoustic guitar really goes up to about the 7th or 8th fret.
Okay.
So I try to, use that in different chord voicings to, make sound. Again, it's about making the music interesting, not only to me, but the people that are listening.
Exactly, because you never know if you're going to have an audience.
Right. And so, and even if I've played it before, if I could add a new wrinkle to it, or something that just makes it a little bit more interesting or unique, then I think it's more entertaining to the audience.
Exactly.
And so that's where the lessons have come in, and that actually helps with song selection.
I was going to say, let's talk about how lessons and song selection tie in.
So one day I walk into the lesson, probably I guess about a year ago, and he's playing an Emerson, Lake and Palmer
Sure.
And of course, the name just went out of my head. But it'll come back to me in a moment.
All right.
So he says, geez, do you know that? And I'm like, no, I don't play it. He's like, well, you really should. And so we worked on it.
All right.
And geez, I wish I could remember it. If I had a guitar in my hands, I could probably start playing it and the name would come to me.
I was going to say, it'll come to you.
Yeah. But then, you know, something else that really, I don't know that I ever would have gotten this song if I wasn't taking lessons. The song that I heard as a kid, thought, geez, this is, you know, a very complicated song. And I heard it one day, and I went in and I just started playing like the beginning of it, because I had kind of figured that out, was just fooling around with it. And so he asked me, he said, do you play that? I said, no, but I'd like to.
Right.
And so we actually worked on that for, you know, a good month of lessons, where, you know, I did nothing but go over that. And the other thing that I did is I found a YouTube video that this guy actually goes through the whole song. It takes about 40 minutes, and so he does it segment by segment, note by note.
Wow.
And I just love playing it, and it's Classical Gas by Mason Williams.
Yep, sure.
Just you know, just a fun kind of instrumental, a little bit more dexterity, and a little bit more challenging in terms of trying to nail those notes consistently.
Exactly. Now, do you have a favorite instrumental song to play?
Well, that's it.
Well, besides that one.
Just instrumental, no. I mean, that's the only one that I don't sing to.
All right.
Some of the more fun ones are "Hold My Hand" by Hootie and the Blowfish.
Yup.
Just because it's got, you know, quite a vocal range.
Oh yeah.
You know, a song that I've been playing since I was in high school, and I continue to play, is "Melissa" by the Allman Brothers. Just one of my favorites.
Oh yeah.
And let's see. What do I tend to play all the time? my friends could probably tell you more than I can. "Operator" by Jim Croce.
I was going to say I haven't seen you in a while.
Another friend of mine we were at a picnic one time, and I had brought my guitar, and he said, geez, do you know "Scotch and Soda," the Kingston Trio? And I'm like, no, but I love that song. And so every time he's there, I play it.
Okay.
And again, that's got some nice, you know, different chords in it.
I was going to say, it's one I've never heard. I might have to go home and throw it on iTunes later.
Yep.
All
So I'm sure I've played that at the event, but you're busy kind of schmoozing and doing other things.
I'm busy either pouring
wine or drinking wine or something. Yes.
No.
No. I didn't mean that.
No, yes, you did.
Well, yeah, I did.
Yes, you did.
But
yes, you did. Actually, what we might want to tell our viewers and listeners, I referred to you as the Captain Tom Ferrara. My viewers and listeners actually know your brother.
True.
Because I've had him on.
Right. Okay.
Tell us who he is. That's yeah. You need to feel sorry for me.
My brother is John Ferrara, and so if you recognize the last name, it's like, yes, we are we are related, and we are brothers, and
John is the executive director for Literacy Volunteers.
Right.
Yeah,
which is kind of strange how I happen to play the benefit every year.
Yeah, I wonder why.
How did that come together?
I don't know.
So.
And you got me doing the PR for the benefit, so it's like, all right.
Right. And
John,
here I am on TV.
There you go. John, do I have to mention this guy again? Yeah, all right, fine. I can definitely do that. So we've got about a minute to go. What else would you like to tell our viewers and listeners before we say goodnight?
Well, I'd love to see you out in the audience at some time.
Yeah, definitely.
You can find me on Facebook at The Captain Rocks. I also have a Reverb Nation site, which is just Reverb Nation /Tom Ferrara, or if you search either The Captain Rocks or Tom Ferrara, you will find me in one of those two places. My show schedules are listed there, and there's some music that you can listen to. It was recorded quite a while ago. I really need to record some new stuff
Update
out there and kind of update it.
That's okay.
It's just, life is busy.
Yeah,
and it's
life-
good. I mean,
definitely.
it's good that it's busy. So
Definitely.
I'm just having a blast
Good.
playing music. And
Cool. I was going to say, if you guys missed any of that, what you can always do is you can always go to my site, and we can link you to the captain's site, and you can get all his show details and all that other good stuff through my site.
Sounds good.
So before we say goodnight, I want to thank you for coming down. Hopefully we'll
Thanks
have you
for
on
having
again.
me. Great.
Hopefully we'll see you soon.
Thank you.
Captain Tom Ferrara, I'm Pete Mezzetti. Thanks, good night, and we'll see you next week.